Have you ever wondered how some businesses seem to have a financial engine that runs 24/7? Well, today we're diving into why more and more U.S. companies are looking halfway around the world, specifically to India, to handle their finances. We're going to unpack the real strategy behind offshore accounting. Is it just about saving money, or is it a much, much bigger strategic play? Let's find out. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the problem, what we're calling the modern financial maze that so many companies are stuck in. Then, we'll get into the offshore solution, looking at three key pillars: the people, the process, and the services. And finally, we'll wrap it all up by talking about the new strategic mindset that makes this whole thing click. Okay, first things first. To really get why this offshore solution is such a big deal, we need to understand the crazy complex world that modern businesses are trying to navigate every single day. I mean, seriously, think about it. Managing a company's money these days feels like being stuck in an intricate web of deadlines, compliance rules, and just constant operational demands. And as our source points out, one tiny mistake, a misfiled form, a late payment, can have huge consequences. We're talking about hefty IRS penalties or even cash flow problems that can bring a growing business to a screeching halt. And it's not just one thing, right? It's a whole pile of pressures. Payroll and taxes seem to get more complicated every single year. The amount of bookkeeping is just exploding. And at the same time, finding qualified people locally is getting tougher and way more expensive. All of this is happening while everyone is demanding perfectly accurate financial reports like yesterday. You're basically caught between a rock and a hard place. So with all that pressure building up, what's a business to do? Well, that brings us right from the problem to the solution, at the very heart of this discussion, making a strategic move to an offshore team. The big idea here is a strategic pivot. It's not just about offloading a few tasks, it's about building a real partnership with a global team. The source actually calls this a game changer, because it lets a business finally escape that daily grind of financial admin and get back to focusing on what it's supposed to be doing, growing and innovating. Okay, so how does this actually work? The whole argument really rests on three main pillars. So let's start with the first one, which is arguably the most important one of all: the people. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because it tackles a huge concern a lot of people have: quality. The argument is that India has this incredibly deep pool of finance pros who are specifically trained in U.S. standards, everything from GAAP accounting rules to the tangled web of IRS regulations. So you're not just outsourcing tasks, you're tapping into a massive amount of specialized expertise without the huge overhead of building a big team at home. All right, that was people. Let's move on to pillar number 2, process and efficiency. This is where the operational advantages of going offshore really start to shine. I mean, just look at this comparison. It lays out the financial argument perfectly. Over on the left, you've got your traditional in-house team with its super high fixed costs, salaries, benefits, the whole shebang. But look to the right. The outsourced model completely flips that script. It turns those fixed costs into lower, more flexible operational costs. You get to avoid those long-term hiring commitments, and you get instant access to professional-grade tools without shelling out a ton of cash up front. And that brings us to another huge advantage: flexibility. Business is never a flat line, right? You've got these super intense periods, like tax season, and then you have moments of crazy growth. An offshore partner lets you scale your accounting firepower up to meet that demand, and then dial it right back down when things quiet down, all without the pain and cost of hiring and firing permanent staff. And this is probably one of the most powerful parts of the whole thing: the time zone advantage. It creates this non-stop 24-hour workflow. Just look at the flow here. Your US team wraps up for the day, sends over their tasks. Then, while you're sleeping, your team in India is hard at work. You literally wake up to progress. This isn't just convenient. It's a massive competitive advantage that lets you move way faster than your competition. Okay, so we've covered people and process. That brings us to our third and final pillar, the core services themselves. So what are we actually talking about getting done here? Well, it all boils down to 3 critical areas. First up, payroll. It's one of the most time-sensitive and just plain stressful functions in any business. If you get it wrong, you're looking at some serious penalties and, well, some very unhappy employees. Outsourcing this pretty much ensures accuracy and timeliness, and it frees your own team from a huge administrative headache. Next on the list, tax prep. For so many businesses, tax season is just this giant black cloud of stress and distraction. Handing this off to a team of specialists makes sure you're compliant with all the complicated rules and that you file on time. It gives you what the source calls peace of mind. And that peace lets you focus on running your business, not chasing down forms. And finally, we get to the absolute foundation of everything: bookkeeping. If your books are a mess, it creates a domino effect of errors in payroll, taxes, you name it. Consistent, accurate bookkeeping gives you that clear financial picture you absolutely need to make smart, data-driven decisions. So, when you pull it all together, the crucial takeaway for all these services is risk reduction. By using structured workflows and having multiple layers of review, this model is built from the ground up to catch errors, ensure compliance, and dramatically lower the risk of those costly mistakes we talked about at the beginning. All right, so we've looked at the people, the processes, and the services. Now let's pull back and talk about the mindset shift that all of this really requires. Because, let's be honest, when you consider a change this big, a few key questions are bound to pop up. And here it is, probably the number one concern for any business owner thinking about this. If you hand over these critical tasks, are you also handing over control of your company's finances? Well, according to our source, the answer is a resounding no. The whole point isn't to replace your oversight. It's to create a seamless extension of your team. You, as the business leader, you still call the shots. The offshore team is there to focus on executing those shots flawlessly. It's a shift from managing tasks to managing outcomes. And then there's the second critical question, especially when you're talking about incredibly sensitive financial data. Is it secure? How can you be sure your information is actually safe? And again, the source gives a direct and pretty reassuring answer. Reputable firms operate under super strict, enterprise-grade security protocols. I mean, think about it. For them, security isn't just a feature, it's their entire business model. Their survival literally depends on it. And this right here, this is really the ultimate takeaway. If you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this quote. The idea is to completely reframe offshore accounting. It's not just a simple cost-cutting trick. It's a powerful, strategic approach to become more efficient, get access to incredible talent, and unlock the flexibility you need to scale your business on your own terms. So, we'll end with this question for you to think about. By freeing up your time, your capital, and your mental energy from that daily financial maze, could your biggest opportunity for growth be waiting to be unlocked by a strategic partner on the other side of the world? It's a powerful thought, and it's one that could totally change the future of your business.